So one thing that was always possible in DGE was to allow the running of the data governance service as a specific service account. In fact, if you were using Windows authentication in your connection from the DGE service back to either an identity manager database or to the activity database, then you had to specify a service account, an AD service account for that DGE service to run as. Changing it after the fact usually would require running some PowerShell commands and things like that. Well, to make it easier, we've actually put it right into the configuration wizard. And this is actually new in 7.1.2 in one of the newer hotfixes, but of course it's been rolled up into 8.0. So as you deploy the data governance service, you have the option right away of either running it as a local system, which this would be checked by default. That's the default behavior, or you can change it to actually run as a specific service account. So if you have an AD account that you want to use to run the data governance service as, you absolutely can, and it'll start running as that. One caveat to that is that if you change it to run as a service account, we have some steps that you'll have to follow to change the SPN so that the service actually will start up and run correctly. So we have a KB article, and it'll be in our documentation as well on how to make that work. But again, we've made it easier for you to actually initially start that data governance running as a particular account. Just a few more improvements that we made in DGE 8.0. One thing we've changed, and again, this is something that we started in 7.1.2 in some of the, and we've been making changes as we've been going along, and obviously these changes are in 8.0. In previous versions of DGE, anytime that something had to do group expansion, so for example, an access report, where does Matt have access? Well, where Matt has access is a combination of where I have access directly, but more frequently, where do the groups that I'm a member of have access as well? So DGE is really good about that and finding out full, complete access. In previous versions of DGE, the expansion part of that was actually made using live AD calls. And that's kind of a throwback to the original technology that DGE was built on. Well, one of the things we've been doing is we've been migrating that. We've been kind of converting that code to not actually go out and make AD calls directly, but the information is already there in the identity manager database, presumably, if the domains are synchronized. So now, anywhere or anytime that DG needs to make a group expansion call, it's just going to pull that information directly from the identity manager database, which will make things a lot faster. It's a lot easier to determine when groups are not expanding correctly. Well, we can just look right in the database to see what information is there. And it'll be as accurate as the last time that a synchronization for a particular domain ran. So this is areas of the product, and we've actually been slowly migrating other areas of DGE. It's not complete yet, but when that's done, the entire product, everything within DGE that requires group expansion will be getting its primary information from the identity manager database. Next thing is full support for Windows Server 2016, both as a target system and as a host for DG components. So for a target system, you can scan them, you can collect activity, things like that. And then as a host for DG components, like the DGE service itself, or as a host for a remote agent that might target, for example, a NetApp device, things like that. So full support for Server 2016. Also EMC VNX2, if you happen to have EMC VNX2 NAS devices, those are completely supported as target systems. And then just a small one here, the ability to immediately rescan a particular target system. And by rescan, I mean rescan the security. So instead of having to, for example, restart the agent or wait for the next scheduled scan, something like that, you can actually trigger an immediate scan right from the manager for any particular managed host that you want, which will start that agent doing the enumeration of the folders and things like that, collecting the security, updating the security index, all of that. So that's just a kind of a nice to have that we put into the manager UI.